Hello everyone and welcome back to a new tutorial. In this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to make a dashing system where if you press a certain key, a nice trail will appear and you will dash. Also, if you guys want to support me and want to have access to all of my project files without having to follow the tutorial, they will all be available on my Patreon in the $10 tier. The link will be in the description. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is make a trail. So I'm going to add a part to the workspace by going to home and click part. Now what I'm gonna do is select this part, drag it over here, and I'm going to add an attachment. Now there will be an attachment, and then on top of it, I'll duplicate that attachment and put it there. Now I'll select both of them and just drag them down so that they're both on the center of the part. And what I'm gonna do is, okay, so they're not on the center of the part. That's a little too much. I think we need to do this. Well, that's good enough. We could make it thinner. And I'm gonna drag this down. Now I think they are centered. Yeah, they are. I'm not really gonna care because that's just temporary. Okay, so we're gonna add a trail to this part, and now I'm going to set the light emission of this to 0.3 and the light influence to 1, and face camera that's going to be checked, and the transparency that's going to be 0. Now I'm going to change the lifetime to 0.25 and the width scale. I'm going to click on this little icon over here. Okay, I'll record both of my my entire screen so that you guys can see what's happening. So I'm just going to click on these three buttons right here, and it's going to show this. Now it's going to start on 1, and I'll just click on this little dot over here and drag it all the way down to 0. So it's going to start on 1 and go all the way down to 0. So now if I just drag this, forgot to set the attachments. Attachment 0 would be a random attachment on these, and the other attachment 1 will be the attachments that I haven't selected yet, so this one. And now as you can see, it does show up and it's pretty cool, but I think that the light emission is way too much and that it's basically just too much, so I'm just going to drag it down to 0.2. Yeah, that makes it look a lot better. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is select this trail. Okay, I'm going to select it. Actually, not yet. I'm going to add a script to service script service, and I'm going to call it dash. Okay, now I'm going to get this trail over here and put it inside of that dash script. Now we can just get rid of this part because we don't need it anymore, so I'm just going to delete it. Okay, now in this dash script, we're gonna need a reference to replicated storage, so local replicated storage equals game call get service replicated storage. Now, for the remote event that we're going to use, I'm going to add a folder in your replicated storage, and I'm going to call it remotes because that's how most of your games are going to be set up. You're probably going to have a folder called remotes in your replicated storage or whatever your remotes folder is. And I'm going to add a remote event, and it's going to be called dash. Now, what I'm going to do is local remotes equals replicated storage dot remotes, and now local dash remote equals remotes dot dash. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is just add a table, so local debounce table equals an empty table. Now you'll see why we're gonna use a table and not your normal debounce on the client. But what I'm gonna do now is remotes dot dash dot on server event connect, and I'm just going to type in a function that's going to be called dash. Okay, now in here I'm going to type in a function called dash, and basically in this function, but by the way, we'll take the player, and what I'm gonna do is just I think, okay, so we're gonna get the character first. Local character equals player character. And now what we need to do is check if the character, if character is not is equal to nil, then we're just going to return. And so what this does is whenever, if the character is not there, then we're just gonna stop there, not run anything else that will happen after this. By the way, this is basically the same as doing this. So yeah, it's basically the same, but I like to keep it in one line of code. Just looks better. So now we need to get the humanoid root part. What am I typing? Humanoid. Okay, so humanoid root part equals character, find first child. find first child, and we're gonna type in humanoid root part. And what I'm gonna do is local humanoid equals character colon find first child humanoid. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is check if humanoid root part is not equal to nil and humanoid is not equal to nil. Then what we also need to check is if the humanoid's health is greater than 0, so if the player is not dead. So what I'm gonna do is end humanoid dot health is greater than 0 then. Now we could do this, or the way I like to do it is just like this. So if this equals nil, or this equals nil, or humanoid dot health is equal to 0, or less or equal to 0. I don't know why it would be less than 0, but I'm just gonna keep it like that. Then you return. I like to do that too, and when I do it, I usually just keep it like this. Return. Okay, I usually just keep it like this. But now that we have that, we can check. What am I doing? Okay, why can't I type return? Okay, so after that, what I'm going to do is if Debounce table player, then return end. And what I'm gonna do now, so we checked if the player is in that Debounce table, then we're just going to return. If not, then this is going to run. So Debounce table player equals true. So we're gonna add the player to that table, and it's going to be set to true. Okay. So now after doing that, we will just create an attachment for the trail. But actually, we're not gonna do that in here. We're gonna have a function player added or character added. And what I'm gonna do is just get the character, and what I'm gonna do is local trail attachment 0 equals instance.new attachment, and trail attachment 0 dot name equals trail attachment 0, and trail attachment 0 dot position. We're not gonna change the position. Now trail attachment 0 dot parent is going to be equal character dot humanoid root part. Now we're gonna copy this, and we're gonna add trail attachment 1. So trail attachment 1, and it's just going to be we're also going to mess around with the position of this one. So trail attachment 1, it's going to be positioned above trail attachment 0, so it's going to be equal to what am I doing? Dot position equals trail attachment 0 dot position plus vector 3 dot new 0 comma maybe 2 comma 0, 2 studs, or maybe just 1.5, but I'm going to keep it at 2, which I think is a little too much. So 1.5. I think that's going to look better. So now what I'm going to do, so we have the Debounce table, we got the player, and it's set to true. Now we're just going to change the name, because I forgot to change the name in here. Trail attachment 1. So local trail equals script.trail colon clone. Now trail dot parent equals character dot humanoid root part. But before we do that, we're gonna do trail dot attachment 0 equals, and it's going to be character or humanoid root part. By the way, in here you can just type in humanoid root part. This humanoid root part dot trail attachment 0. Type that in. Now trail dot attachment 1 is going to be equal to, and it's going to be same thing here, but just with attachment 1. Okay, so we have that. So what I'm gonna do now is just see if this works first. So I'm just going to get the players in here. So local players equals game get service players. Now in here, what I'm gonna do is player added connect function. That's just going to take the player. So player dot character added connect function character Maybe we can just do connect function character added. And in here, we're just going to add a task.wait. So task.wait 1. So 1 second. And now after that, I'm going to just wait 5 seconds, and I'm going to call the dash function. Dash function, and it's going to take the player. And now what I'm going to do is mess around with the trail's lifetime, which is going to be 1, just so that I'm able to see the trail more clearly. I'm just going to move, and the width, I think, is way too much. So what we can do about that is just lower this right here. This could be 1 or 0.8. Let's see if this looks better. After like 3 seconds from now, it will show up. Okay, so now I think that this is good enough. Although I do think that the trail is has too much light emission. Anyway, so just put the lifetime back to 0.2, and we're gonna get back to what we were doing. So we call the dash function, and here's what's going to happen. We will just create a linear velocity. So local linear velocity equals instance.new linear velocity, and linear velocity dot attachment 0. Now to check what attachment 0 is going to be, I'm going to play the game, and I think there is an attachment in here, and it's called a rig attachment. Rig attachment. I think that's what it's called. Equals humanoid root part dot rig attachment, and now linear velocity dot max force equals vector3 dot new vector. No, it's going to be 10,000. Now linear velocity dot velocity dot I think it's called constraint mode. So velocity constraint mode equals enum dot and I'm going to check what this is because I don't really remember. Okay, I was this is not correct. I was going to do dot relative to equals enum, and I think it's called dot actuator relative to. This is what it's called. And dot I'm just going to do attachment 0. Okay, so linear velocity dot velocity dot vector velocity equals vector3 dot new 0 comma 0 comma minus, and I'm just going to type in minus. Okay, I just hit my desk. Minus 100, and then I'm going to do task dot wait 0.1 and linear velocity colon destroy. Now we're gonna see if this looks good or not. So I'm just going to go here, wait, and will it push me? No, it did not. And we did not get any errors. So let's double check why that is happening. And I think it's because of this. I'm just going to no, it's not because of that. It's because we didn't parent the linear velocity. Dot parent is going to be equal to humanoid root part. Play the game again. Wait for it, and let's just see if it's going to work. Okay, so we did, but the max force, I think, was a little too low. I'm just going to add another 0. Did I even add it? I didn't really see another. Okay, so that definitely works. So we forgot to remove the trail. So we're gonna do linear velocity colon destroy task dot wait 0.3 or 2 trail colon destroy, and let's see if that's going to work. Okay, so that works, and you can mess around with it by just changing this time right here, but make sure to also change this. And the other thing that you can mess around with is the max force and this number right here, but I'm not going to do that. So then I'm going to add a task dot wait, maybe like 3 seconds between each dash. Task dot wait 3 seconds, and then we can just do debounce table. We can just do if debounce table player, then debounce table player equals nil. That's all you gotta do. I'm also going to just do this because I think it's going to look cleaner. And I could change this into a variable up here, so local debounce time, debounce length or time, and I'm just going to change it to 3. So 3 seconds, and in here I'm just going to type in debounce time, and that's pretty much all we need to do. So now we need to make it so that we can actually dash when we want to, not just from here. So what I'm gonna do is inside of starter player scripts, local script, actually maybe just starter character scripts, and I'm just going to call it dash client. And what I'm gonna do is just type in local replicated storage equals game colon get service replicated storage. Now replicated local remotes equals replicated storage colon for cyber remotes. Local dash remote equals remotes colon wait for child dash. And now what I'm gonna do is dash remote no, what am I doing? So we need to get user input service, local user input service equals game colon get service user input service, and user input service dot input began colon connect function input comma game processed event game processed event. Now we're gonna check if game processed, if not game processed event, then so we're gonna check if input dot keycode equals in dot keycode dot, it's going to be q for me. So remotes dot no dash remote colon fire server. Let's see if that works. Let's just first of all just print yes to check if it works, and yes. And as you can see, we can press it multiple times until the debounce is over, and it does go the way we are facing. And I kind of like it. Let's just do that again, and as you can see, it does dash. We could try that again. Yeah, I really like it actually. What I'm gonna do though is make the debounce time less. So if I change it to like 1 or maybe 0.7, will that look better? I don't know. Dash. Yeah, I think that's perfect. Yeah, that's definitely good enough. And it works so well. But I think the trail disappears before it comes back to me. So we could change that time too. So 0.3. Let's see how that's gonna look. So Q. Still too late. 0.4. Okay, we could do something in here. So local trail time, and we're gonna change that to 0.45, and then local linear velocity, local velocity duration 0.1. And now what I'm gonna do in here is change that to the debounce time minus what was it, minus velocity duration minus, what is it now, trail time. Yes, trail time. Now in here we're gonna do velocity duration, and in here we're gonna do trail time. Now if you play the game, that's going to look better and it will be more accurate. Yeah, the trail now lasts a little too long, so we could again go back here and just play around with it. So trail time maybe 0.35 will look better. I'm not going to change it again. I think that's, oh, there was a little issue, which is that it called the function before we had the trail attachment in the character added function. Okay, so we need to fix that, and the way we're gonna fix it is by going in here and we're gonna check or not humanoid root part find first child trail attachment 1. Now if I just press it right now, it's going to work, and it actually does work. Okay, so I really like it. It works. Yeah, that's going to be it for today's tutorial. If this helped, make sure to subscribe, like the video, share it with your friends, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.